In this video, we're talking about why I left California and why I have no regrets. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Living in the Pacific Northwest with Hal Bird. I'm Hal Bird. I am a licensed realtor and relocation specialist, licensed in both Oregon and Washington. So I serve the Portland metro area and Southwest Washington. And I moved to California 7 years ago after being raised there my entire life. And today we're going to talk about some of the reasons why I left and why I don't regret leaving. Because that's one of the number one questions that my clients from California ask is, do you regret it? Would you move back? And my husband and I, when we went to California for Thanksgiving last year, we drive. He likes to drive. I like to fly. He likes to drive. But we're on our drive, and he's like, what would it take to make you move back to California? And I'm not going to share it here, but if you heard the immense qualifications and the extreme things that would have to happen for me to move back to California, you would understand why I feel like I'm a Washingtonian for life. And so in this video, we're going to talk about why I don't regret leaving, and maybe it relates to what you're feeling. Or maybe you're suspecting leaving California. I have a lot of clients who are retirees that then decide to move after being born and raised in California, and they're at the retirement age and they're leaving and they're still happy to be here. So let's talk about those things. And these aren't in a particular order, but for one of the things that was a big difference that I noticed was cost of living. Washington, because we don't have state income tax, your dollar goes further. We also see that dollars go further in real estate. So when it comes to housing prices, you can get a lot more for your money. Here in the Clark County area, median home prices for detached or single family homes was $575,000 in 2024 within Clark County. So the price isn't necessarily the cheapest. There are other places in the country you can move to have cheaper housing. But when you factor it in with all of the things like quality of life, you really get the most bang for your buck here in Clark County within Washington. It's my personal opinion. Because obviously you could move somewhere like Seattle, and if you're moving from, say, Modesto or Sacramento to Seattle, your housing costs are actually going to go up. So I just feel like cost of living, my dollar goes further, we're taxed less, we're not nickeled and dimed. And that's the thing that really irritated me about California. It's always something. They're always nickeling and diming you. It's very expensive, and we call it the sunshine tax, but I'm perfectly happy with the weather here. Which kind of brings us to number 2, which is the outdoor lifestyle and the weather. People talk about Washington is always rainy, and that's just not true. Not by the numbers. Even when it does rain, it's mostly misty. It's very occasional that we get any sort of actual rain, like what I call real rain or torrential rain. Most of the time it's very misty. That's why you don't see people using umbrellas up here. And I really enjoy the 4 seasons. Both of my parents are from the East Coast, and they always talked about, as my sister and I were being raised in California, that they missed the 4 seasons. And I never really understood it until I lived in it. And it creates such a nice cadence to life. And in Clark County, our seasons are very temperate. So it's never too hot. It's not too cold. There's not too much snow. It's everything feels just right to me. So that's number 2, outdoor lifestyle, weather. Much prefer it to what I was used to experiencing in California, like drought. Number 3 is traffic and infrastructure. I find that I really enjoy not having to pre-plan so much when I want to go somewhere. So living in Southern California, if you want to go somewhere all day, even if you're going in the evening, all day you're thinking about traffic. What time do I have to leave in order to make it? And you're on Google Maps or whatever your map service is, and you're checking, okay, right now traffic is going to take 2 hours, so if I need to be there at 7, I need to leave at 5 and probably a little bit early just to leave extra time. And then you're checking like every hour, what's the traffic? Because if it changes, maybe you can leave a little later. And there's hours of your life that revolve around planning for traffic. And so while we do have traffic in Southwest Washington, it is nothing compared to what we're used to in Southern California and when I lived in LA. At that time, an hour-long trip was not that big of a deal. Now 30 minutes, I'm like, oh, I gotta think about that. Like 30 minutes is far away because everything is it's so easy to get around here. And I'm talking even going from like northern parts of Vancouver, say Salmon Creek, into downtown Portland. I've made that drive so many times in 25 minutes. You're crossing states and you're going into like the main hub of the city of Portland. And it's really reasonable. Even with traffic, if you're leaving, like if you're in Portland and you're leaving at rush hour, it's probably gonna take an hour. But if you live and work in Washington, you can kind of plan around that. Number 4 is political and policy differences. I find that where we settled in Washington is a lot more balanced in terms of politics. It feels kind of refreshing. You know, I've been in Washington for 7 years, and in the last probably 8, 9, 10 years, it just seems like the whole country is like at each other's necks or throats. I'm so bad at idioms, you guys. If you get to know me, you'll know that. I cannot remember idioms. But it's just been so divisive and so intense. And I really like feeling a little bit insulated from all of that division, in the sense that, yes, people here are politically active and there's protests and there's different ways you can get involved politically, both locally and if you wanted to work on national campaigns. But it feels like people respect others' opinions a little bit more. So if you're far right or you're far left, you'll find that there's more tolerance for the extremes. And most people, I would say, are not that extreme. Most people I come in contact with or talk to about politics, but politics really doesn't come up that much. It doesn't come up that much. People, it's kind of like when you go back, when people are like, oh, it's rude to talk about politics and money and religion. It's kind of like that here. People are not in your face with their political beliefs. And even when you can have those discussions, people are very respectful about it, in my experience. Number 5 is wildfires and air quality. So growing up in Southern California, you know, wildfires were not something that was an anomaly. Obviously, we have wildfire season. And now, I mean, the whole state of California has wildfire season. And after these most recent fires, the Eaton fire and the Pacific Palisades fire in like January of 2025, in my mind, I'm like, January, like that's not fire season. The Santa Ana ones are blowing that hard in January. Like I always remember that as a fall thing. I don't remember that as a New Year thing early in winter. And so anyway, where we lived in Riverside County, that was the last place I lived before relocating up to Washington. We lived in the Murrieta Temecula area. We had 2 or 3 fires that were very close to our home. One of them where we were almost had to be evacuated. And it's very scary. It's very stressful. And we do have some wildfire risk here in Southwest Washington, but it's really in the rural areas. You won't see a big impact for fires if you live in the central cities of, you know, Vancouver, Camas, Battleground, Ridgefield, Washougal. If you're in the city limits of Washougal, you're probably not going to be that worried about fire risk. We did a video here about fire risk. We went to a talk. You didn't watch that there. But it's very, I don't want to say relaxing. It's a relief. It's a relief that I'm not so concerned about fires. We don't have fire insurance. You can get fire insurance. It's not very expensive if you're not in a past burn area. But I don't see the need for it on our personal home. And we back, to green space, or there's green space a block from our house. We're just a few doors down from it, and I'm not concerned about it, honestly. And that's a relief, because I was before. Also, air quality. Our air quality here, whenever we leave the region, whether we're going to Florida for a conference or Vegas, or we're going to visit family in California, the air quality is something that I miss so much from being in the Portland metro area and being in Southwest Washington, that I crave it when we come back. I cannot wait to smell the Portland air, especially because I went to college in LA. And just dealing with smog is just a day-to-day thing. Oh, it's really smoggy today. Oh, it's not smoggy today. And our air quality is very consistently good here. My mother-in-law, when she visits, her asthma goes away. She doesn't need to take her inhaler as much. It's so good. It's because of all those trees, of course. And that brings me to number 6. One of the reasons, and this is a big lifestyle reason why I don't regret leaving California, is for better work-life balance. Washington has a bit of a slower pace of living than California. And so there's people that I have been friends with for a year plus that I didn't even know what they did for work. And in California, in my experience, one of the first things that you ask people when you meet them is, what do you do for a living? And here it's more about, what are you interested in? Who are you as a person? It's not so much about what you do, because people in California are always looking to network and scheme and see how they can benefit from knowing you. And so It's a little bit self-serving. It's that whole let's do lunch culture where you say that you're gonna go to lunch and you never mean it. Here, when people say that, they mean it. When they say, hey, let's do something, they mean it. And it's not cliquish, it's not closed off in Clark County. It's very welcoming, and it's just been a great experience. It's been very easy to build a friend network that we can rely on. You know, people who I can call up and be like, hey, we're out of town, can you bring my trash cans in or check on my home, or whatever the case is. It's so neighborly. The quality of life is better. It feels more balanced. We spend more time outdoors, more time with friends and family, and it's just adds so much to life. And I feel happier, healthier, more vibrant. I'm just a little less tan because I don't spend as much time in the sun, which I do miss. But it's just been really great. Life in Washington has been great. It's been 7 years. I have no intention of moving back to California. I don't think I ever would. There's only very small circumstances that I could imagine doing it. And I think you'd have to drag me kicking and screaming because I just love living in Washington and specifically Southwest Washington so much. So if you're considering relocating to the Southwest Washington area or the greater Portland metro area, whether you're moving to or within, please feel free to reach out. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest in the Pacific Northwest, you can shoot me a text at 360-818-4438. You can also call me, email. All of my contact information is in the description below, as well as a Zoom link that you can schedule a consult if you are ready to hop on Zoom and talk about your relocation. You don't have to be at any particular point. If you just want to get on a call and let me answer some of your specific questions, I'm happy to do that. When we were moving, we didn't have the resources like this YouTube channel and me. I didn't have my own version of me. And so that's really what I wanted to become is your friend in the Northwest that can help you navigate, is this the right move for you? Why or why not? What neighborhoods are going to make sense? What you can expect, and help you through the whole relocation journey up to buying your home. So I look forward to hearing from you. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment. Let me know if you're thinking about leaving California and why. And I look forward to catching you guys in the next video. Ciao.